I think we'll start back onto the Nick Rakieta stuff. Okay, so like I said, got a few things. We got like 4 videos to go over, but they're long. We're not going to go over the entire Sean portion, but I do have something that's in there that I think you guys might find funny. So we'll get to that. I had it timestamped, but I know a rough timestamp off the top of my head. And then we'll go through at least one of these Nate the Lawyer things, which, by the way, legal guys, I'm really liking Nate the Lawyer and Sean. Not because of them being anything special, just because I'm seeing them and I'm seeing their personality watching a lot of this Nick Rakietas stuff. So if you're gonna check out legal stuff, I strongly recommend, go check out Potentially Criminal, who is Sean, this gentleman in the center, and then Nate the Lawyer. You'll see what Nate looks like, but Nate's got a pretty cool channel. He seems pretty chill. From what I understand, Nate was a former police officer that's worked his way up into being a lawyer, which fantastic that he's understood the law that thoroughly. And, that's maybe to some benefit to his clients. So, anyway, let's get into this, which is going to be Arron from Steel Toe Morning Show. Arron was the second male in polycule quadruple, whatever the fuck you want to call it. He was the one that was fucking Kayla, Nick's wife. So yeah, Arron's fucking Nick's wife, Kayla, and Nick is fucking Arron's wife, April. Got it? Great. Good. Let's get into it. Legal mindset, I'm kind of liking on more and more. He's a little bit Gen Z. I don't know. He's got that, like, he's trying to be a Gen Z fit in kind of guy, and I don't know how I feel about that quite yet, Jim, but he's not a bad guy. He really isn't. And I just went into this, and I didn't even have to. You want to know why? I've got it ready to go right here.
Bros. For May 26, 2024.
Ash. Oh. So this is May 26th. So this would have been after where we left off with the last stuff. We left off where Mr. Medicare had his stream on May 25th, which was the day before, okay? Before all that, we had Nick Rakieta's arrest, his arraignment, and then there's been a slow buildup of people that are kind of nose guarding instead of gun guarding. Gun guarding built its popularity with Ethan Ralph. Nose guarding is a popular term for the people who are pro Nick Rakieta at this point. People in that camp were at this point Yellow Flash, EVS, Barnes, who is a lawyer that's going to come up later. I can't remember who else, but there's a couple. I mean, Ethan is part of that as well. So, I mean, these are the people that are kind of pro Nick and supporting him and doing all kinds of crazy shit, in my opinion. And also, we got Dick Masterson and Vito. Vito Giswaldi. The guy that's known for sexually molesting a cat with a Q-tip. So, and yes, you did absolutely hear that right. But yeah, anyway, let's get into this stream, and we'll stop. I got a couple things to commentate on here and there.
Oh, what a few days it has been since last we were live with Josh Moon.
Retweet.
One more thing. I've got Coke and whiskey. So if you notice me getting snarkier and snarkier and having a bit of a snappy attitude later on, you know in advance why.
Everyone, for real,
folks.
Retweet.
Hasn't it been quite a few wonderful fucking days?
I need 100 RTs.
Full news report. Yes. Before we get into anything,
retweet.
We need retweets on the tweet that's pinned. We need you to subscribe to the Clip channel because this is all good.
Bro.
Regional Minnesota news confirming Rakieta lives in a slovenly, disgusting, moldy, dirty, festering crack den.
All right, so with Nick Rakieta's arrest, we had a couple things that came out. One of the big things being is there's a lot of news organizations that had reported on this. So, heck, even if I go right now and go, Nick Rakieta, and I just search him, and we'll just go to the news tab. There we go. I mean, you could see as far as the Daily Mail, Oh, what else? There was an Australian paper. I mean, this story's technically gone worldwide. You want to know why? This guy got big being, in the papers and stuff. So his arrest is also going to be big news. The one they are reading from, I believe, is this article right here. Which I think they pull up on stream if I recall right.
Just a filthy drug den.
Not that kind of coke, Ellington. Although I'd accept it just because of the street value at this point. Rum and Coke is also a good drink. I can't knock that. Depending on the rum. I like certain rums. In particular, I'm a little fancy or whatever the fuck you want to call it. When it comes to Coke and rum, I like the more spiced rums and stuff when it comes to that stuff. Rum and Dr. Pepper is top notch, though, in my opinion.
Clothes all over the place, dirty dishes, mold, filth on the floors. It was looking like the cockroaches crack shack, folks. This is what Nick Rakietas was living in.
At least
with
Cog.
5 children. At least Cog didn't have children.
No, at least
living
Cog.
in the festering, shitty fucking mess, Rackets.
Right?
What the fuck is wrong with this bum?
When I read that article.
But could we even be surprised? He couldn't even be bothered to feed his kids SpaghettiOs, folks. So why are we surprised he couldn't even be bothered to clean up the filth of the drug den? Or his wife take even 5 minutes out of her Xanax-fueled Star Trek day to fucking clean the mess of the filthy crack den?
Hey, Huggy, how you doing, buddy?
Disgusting. Children living there. Rakieta endangering his child by refusing
Bacardi, Gold, and Pepsi. Okay.
to open the door for law enforcement, even though they had a warrant, to where they rammed down the door in his little daughter's face. She like 12 years old? This is Rakieta's choices. This is the man that Nicholas fucking Rakieta is.
Okay, so what they're referring to is we don't have the total story at this point, okay? We've probably got a good 75% of the story going into this stream where we know, hey, the police were there. We know a lot of preliminary stuff. So we had the affidavit for the warrant that we went over where they were saying that all these things were suspected with the streams that he had gone over, between Arron, the Steel Toe Morning Show streams, between Nick's streams, between his experience, between the reports that he was getting from people and everything else. And then on top of that, this news article comes out, and I believe this is with, let me pull this off to the side so I don't give you guys wrong information. But I believe this is with the initial warrant. Was it? Let me pull this up. Let's see. This just has all the stuff for them permitting for the search warrant. But I thought I saw something in this warrant where it talks about, and maybe it's just the article that I'm thinking of. It might just be this article that I'm thinking of, because we're eventually going to get into this. So this'll really be an interesting read when we get there, and we'll let other people kind of do our work for us. Let me see. Open image in new tab. I'm going to open just this image up because and just to make you laugh. All right, guys. This is if you had to fit this all on one screen, this is what the entire police report looks like, by the way. Yeah, it basically is so micro printed, but what we're going to do is we'll zoom in a pretty good amount. Whoa. Not that good. Somewhere in around there. We'll call it good. And we'll go through this when we get to this. But this has a lot of information on like who reported what they found, what happened when they were at the residence. But this is some things that the news article has preliminary to really all this information coming out.
a dirty fucking junkie. He had a dirty fucking filthy polycule mistress around his fucking kids. It's all confirmed. He's a scumbag. He's a fucking lowlife. And a lot of people out there right now are babying this man. They're powdering his ass, putting the, oh, it's okay. Oh, isn't it so sad? Oh, shouldn't we feel bad for him? Oh, you know, guys, we should cut him some slack. Oh.
And this is something that was going on quite strongly, but I'm going to go forward a little bit. Like I said, I'm going to try and give us the best overview of everything here. So let's see what we get into right here.
Dark Side Phil's reaction.
We don't need Dark Side Phil. We don't need Dark Side Phil's reaction to stuff. But I do want to get into Arron. So we're going to go right here.
Little baggies if he wasn't dealing. You know what I mean? Like, the thing is, when you're getting into these amounts of cocaine, you know, in order to help fuel the cost of it, you might start dealing on the side. And he would see no problem ethically with dealing drugs.
When you're partying with people and shit, and you're and remember, he's heading to these sex clubs.
He had a fun.
No problem, Ellington. I'll see you in a bit, man. I'll be around.
I just want us all to see on the board behind me. I think it's very important for people to know we are powerless over our addictions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very good lesson to learn.
Okay,
We are
already.
We need a power. What is it? Greater than ourselves.
All right.
To help
well,
us
before
through
we
these
get
things.
into
Let's
everything,
start.
why
Yeah,
don't
let's-
you let them know who you are, where they can watch your show, and all that?
Yeah.
I'm Arron Imholte, the host of the Steel Toe Morning Show, or if you dislike me, the biggest cuck on the internet.
Okay.
Currently. No, boys, look, I know we're gonna get into a lot of stuff, and I know I'm here to be Ray Liotta in Goodfellas, but
All right. So first off, I'm going to give you a little preface going into this. I think, oh, good Lord, we're already beating the shit out of the mic. Holy shit. I think that Arron here is playing up a little bit of an act, you know, maybe just for the Kino casino. I don't know if he's doing it, but I feel like when we watch back, when, like, if you were here for the first part and everything, when I showed you guys, oh, what stream did we go over? This one, where his reaction after 4 hours of sleep, and especially this, where he finds out live on air, because mind you, it's only been, what, 2-3 days since all of this stuff came out to this stream that we're watching now. And all this shit happens. But his most real reactions, I feel like, are right here, which is why I'm leaving them in the playlist. I'm going to make this playlist public after we do this stream, so you guys can go through all this stuff, see everything for yourself. I'll figure out a way to also maybe get you guys either the pictures or the documents. I don't know if I need to do a paste bin or something. We'll figure something out, and I'll throw it in the description of both videos. So that way you guys can have access to all the documents without having to feel like you're scummy and going to the Kiwi Farms or some other shit. But yeah, so I just want to preface, I feel like the dude's playing up a bit of an act here. So I take what he says with a grain of salt, okay? Compared to those earlier streams, even 2 days ago, I don't know if he's doing it for a cope. And not to sound like, you know, I'm calling it a cope, but I don't know if this is just how he's coping with things, or if he's just doing it because he's trying to be a showman about it.
I do have to say, and PPP has said it on multiple episodes, and Andy, I know you and I have talked. I think PPP's coverage of this, Ashton's coverage has been fantastic.
we're
I've
way
laughed
low.
my fucking balls off.
Oh,
even
yeah.
when he's calling me a homosexual.
Well,
Right.
And stuff,
There we go.
and a
Fix the volume.
degenerate and everything else. He's
Yeah.
not wrong. I was all of those things. There's no, like, everybody's criticism. Those who
Aaron.
don't like me, who go, oh, you were a degenerate, you went to this place. Yes, that's my whole point. I am guilty. I am working through this. I am working it
So,
off. I am paying it off. The problem I have is 3 other people who are involved in this will not admit their guilt and atone for what they've done wrong.
So, Arron, can I just get you correct? You're going to admit today that you engaged in homosexual activities?
No, I did not engage in homosexual.
okay.
Nick Rakieta
Okay,
licked my
'cause-
face 3 times, and it was always unasked for.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So I'm just gonna
You know
ask
what it
you
was?
See what I
before
mean
we
about
get
playing
into
this up?
the
Ashton,
yeah,
real
yeah.
quick. Ashton, real quick.
By the way, you want to hear, you want to see a really good cop, bad cop kind of interview? Right here is a fantastic job of two hosts that know each other very well and know how to play off of their strengths. Okay. PPP at points is going to play a really good bad cop. He is going to go in hard on Arron at a couple points. And Andy is it's jokes. It's here, ha ha ha, point at that. Like, he's not going to make Arron feel like he's in an interrogation. But at the same time, notice that, like, if you want to pay attention to like actual like good interviewers and stuff like that, notice how these guys, like, notice when Andy knows to shut the fuck up. That's, I swear to God, that is the biggest thing I've noticed with a lot of people, is knowing when to be quiet. Not to interrupt the person, let them speak, because once it's out there, it's out there. Then you can work at them and they can change their story. But really good interviewers let people, for lack of a better way to say it, hang themselves. So, yeah, keep that in mind while you're watching this, too.
Quick. The only reason he licked my face is because I have a terrible habit of leaving Molly on my cheek. That's the only reason he licked.
Is that what is that serious? He was trying to lick
No,
Molly
I
off
don't.
her cheek or what?
But
Well,
here's the
in
thing
this
is, yo,
in
Aaron.
this case, it's hard to tell what's serious and what's a joke
I have to
because
be
it's
careful
so
with you, yeah.
insane.
I have
Okay,
to be
now
careful
listen.
with you because you'll take it as serious.
No,
Yeah,
no,
so
no, Aaron,
listen,
but everything is so degenerate that saying that's like, yeah, that's believable. It's not
It
even
was-
like
yeah.
that
No,
exaggerated.
it
It's like-
really
it's
is.
like-
It really is.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we go into, because I kind of want you to give us like a chronological walkthrough of
Oh,
everything,
shit.
but before we do that,
Great news. We never get a chronological walkthrough of any of this shit. They're going to jump around through a lot of stories. And I think that's just because of Arron being Arron. So they kind of jump around from story to story, and some things happen before others. They try really great at starting out with a chronological history to begin with, but it's going to go south so quick that just don't even worry about that.
I want to ask you, what is the crying on the floor story? Can we hear the crying on the floor story?
The crying on the floor story. First of all, I should have been more specific. But the crying on the floor. Well, is that different than the fix her story?
Okay. I didn't have this in there. Oh, I'm giving away party favors ahead of time. I've got a good little stream that I couldn't really incorporate into this playlist that I got to share with you guys. But somewhere in before this whole thing happened, and I believe even before this interview, sometime maybe within a week or two ahead of it, in Steel Toe Morning Show, and I really wasn't wanting to go through all that time just to find a little clip. But Arron says, "Oh, you don't want me to talk about X story or a Y story or A story, B story," and he goes on for like, I'm not even kidding, like 12 to 15 stories. He mentions like, you don't want me to tell them about this, you don't want me to tell them about this. So because of that, people have a lot of questions coming into this. Hey, Bern, how you doing, bud? So they got a lot of questions coming into this. So that's where you get people asking about, well, tell us about the crying on the floor story. It's because that's how Arron mentioned them in this previous stream. He sat there and said, you don't want me to tell you about the Super Bowl story, or you don't want me to tell you about the crying on the floor one, or the Snow Angels was another one. I mean, there's all these fucking crazy ass stories that are going to be got into eventually. So I'm here we'll go through a majority of the stuff, but it really, really, I applaud PPP for playing bad cop so well, but keeping the interviewee there for the whole thing was really good.
Tell us both.
Okay. The fixer story is this. Well, now we're going to jump out of order and we're going to get way ahead in the story, but all right.
Like I said, we haven't even gotten into the first story. We're already we said fuck it to the timeline.
Right.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I don't think it's any secret. And I've received messages from people saying, how dare you reveal all this? I'm like, I'm pretty sure you guys getting arrested revealed all this. But it's no secret that, people call it swinging. I would say it was just more straight up, just switching up.
Right.
more than anything else. And I did look, whoever she is now, whoever she is when I'm not around, when I was around, I'll admit to you, boys, I did fall in love with the Kayla that was around me. Whoever.
I think he is being serious here, but he is going to play this up a lot in this stream. My sweetie, my honey, my sweetheart. He never says any of that anytime beforehand in any of the previous stuff we watched. Even with the 4 hours after, when he initially finds out, he doesn't go, oh my God, what happened with Kayla? Like, so I believe he is playing this up as a bit, just to give you guys a heads up. But I do think he actually does have feelings, however major or minor, for Kayla.
Whoever this person is, whoever she was, and Nick would tell me himself, he would go, I've never seen her like this in years. There was something about the way her and I connected. There was shit we said to each other that we probably shouldn't have. But there was I just developed a very deep connection. You know, April was, doing the substances she was doing with Nick, and I was not okay with it. Her and I fought about it a lot. Mm-hmm. When you confront people who are on those substances, they tend to call you a lot of shit that kind of fucks with you. And I started to kind of question my own, worth and sanity and whatnot. And when Kayla hears those kind of things and she comes up and she gives you a hug and she says, I just want to let you know you're a good man. Like, you're at such a low point when you're doing all this shit that's all it takes. And you're like, you know what? I'm going to cling to this person because they make me feel like I'm worth a shit. And she did that. I will say this, Kayla Rakieta, for all her faults, for all this and whatever we may talk about, I really did develop a deep affection for that woman, and that was reciprocated. It's
which is great. But I'm going to say this up front, and you guys can hate me for it, but it's my stream. Fuck Kayla. She and Nick, fuck them both, okay? Kayla did not have a job. Kayla was a stay-at-home parent. Nick technically had a job in that he was a streamer. That's how they made their revenue and everything else. But for the most part, also a stay-at-home parent. Some of the shit you're going to find out later on, keep that shit in mind. Don't, because of all the sweet things you're going to hear come out of Arron's mouth about Kayla, let your mind get dissuaded that Kayla is not at fault here. Kayla, in my opinion, is just as at fault as Nick. Don't care what you say, but, as a parent, especially, and I think especially because of some of the shit that you're going to find out in this stream, I tend to hold Kayla slightly more responsible than Nick. And I'll explain why when we get to that stuff. So don't polish your pitchforks yet on me. Like, we'll get there. But it's there's reasoning behind all this.
Unfortunate the way things went. But I really did see that there's something in her that wants to be done with this. There's just no, in the position, in the situation you're in, there's no opportunity to actually do it.
May I ask you one thing? So you told me, and I'm pretty sure you said this on your show too, there was something about, like, you guys were like soulmates. Like, you had conversations about being soulmates.
We were in bed one night, and when Nick would be on his streams, April would be the corner demon. Of course, I think that's pretty much figured out by now. I'm not spilling any. But April would go down there. And the sickest part about me and a level of degeneracy I'll cop to is I didn't want to be around my wife. I wanted to be around Kayla. So when those two went off and did their thing, it didn't bother me at all. And as a husband, that's disgusting. Right. That's degenerate. I think, as PPP said, you have to answer to men and God on shit like that. But that was just the way it was. That's the situation I was in. And I'm sorry, Andy, I'm jumping all over the place.
No, you're good.
Yeah, no. It's very enlightening, everything you're saying. It's fantastic. It's awesome. You're doing great.
Yeah, Andy, you said the soulmate thing. That's
the soulmate thing. Yeah, but no, it's fine. It's unfolding the story. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
We were in bed one night. We were lying together, and she whispered to me, she goes, I think you're my soulmate. And I, the way we were at the time, I said, I agree. I feel that too. There was just such a deep connection there. It's a connection we definitely got chastised for by the other two parties.
How do they find out about that?
Not necessarily that. It's just the closeness. We would get
They
criticized.
witnessed you guys getting closer and closer and falling in love.
Kayla was sleeping once, and April and Nick, we were in the bathroom where the safe and everything were discovered. We were in there, and I was sitting on a chair. I'm not going to say they sat me down, but I'm sitting on a chair, and the two of them are close to me, and they're going, "Do you understand that when you and Kayla talk to each other, nobody else can get a word in and you don't even hear other people? It's like you're closed off in your own little world." And I'm sitting there going, well, based on what we're doing, guys, isn't that kind of the fucking idea? And they're like, well, Nick and I don't do that. I'm like, that's your fucking problem, not mine. Like, I'm talking to this person. I'm connecting with this person. I'd like to talk and speak to this person. I don't know what to tell you. There were always these weird rules. Like, you play pickup basketball or pickup football, and some kid always wants to change the rules in the middle of a game. Like, now you gotta have 2 feet in bounds instead of 1.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it felt. Like, if Kayla and I got too far affront or forward, affection-wise or feeling-wise, then the other two had to slam on the brakes. And that included shitting on the other one to me, or shitting on me to her, or Nick would always, the thing that actually led me to ultimately leave one night, it was a Thursday night, 7 weeks ago. Nick started questioning me about where Kayla put her prescription pills one night. Nick, we were sitting up in the bed watching a movie, and Kayla was there, and she went to grab her sleeping pills, and she set them down on my leg. This was a couple nights before Nick confronted me about this. Well, I guess Nick got a hold of Kayla's phone and started reading her messages. And there were really affectionate, heavy messages from Kayla and I. And he didn't like that. And he starts texting me. And he starts going, "Where did Kayla put those pills the other night?" I was like, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Did she put them on your dick?" I'm like, "What?" When she set them down on the bed, did she set them where your dick? I'm like, "No, I think she set them on my knee. I'm not sure." Like, I didn't know because I don't remember that shit because that's psychotic.
The pills loose? Was it the pills
No.
loose?
She has them in
the case. Okay. In the case.
Like
All right.
people who have to take medication do. And by the way, before anyone even asks, I only saw her, other than like cocaine and stuff, I only saw her take medication that was prescribed to her. I will say that.
Okay.
But he would start questioning me, and if I didn't know the answer to these things that happened a couple days ago, he'd start freaking out on me like, "You're a goddamn liar. Why don't you just stop lying?" And I'm just like, dude, I just don't know where your wife put her pill. I don't pay attention to this shit. Did you her 2 days ago when you were watching that movie? Did you have sex that? I'm like, Sunday, Monday, I think maybe but then I would realize I would think to myself,
you fucked her, right?
Why do you think he was so threatened by you fucking his wife? Like, shouldn't he have been chill with it?
Those two are extremely codependent. And even though they're into, I think they were kind of bored with each other. And that's where April and I came along. And
was it accepted to have sex with her and vice versa? Like, was this like already okay, guys, I get the her, you got the her.
Let me take responsibility for something else.
Sure.
While April and I were on vacation in Las Vegas to watch.
Some of this story has changed that you're about to hear, and I'll let him tell his side of it, and I'll tell you the changes that I've heard since this stream.
The Vikings games and hang out with some friends.
Okay.
I did bring it up to her that I thought Kayla was very attractive. And my part of the degeneracy, my part of the weakness was it might be interesting to try this because we knew their reputation. Can you
walk me through like the decision process to opening your marriage?
Right here. We'll listen to
the
this.
Wednesday night before we left for Las Vegas, we went out to dinner with the Rakietas. Now, we met them in October at the comedy show.
Okay.
That, unfortunately, Chrissy Mayer's father was murdered, and she had to pull out.
By the way, I have that, or had that in the playlist. I don't know if I still have that in the playlist. Let me check. Nope. I did pull it out of the playlist. I had it in there. That was the most awkward thing ever. You can go on Alyssa Clip's channel. She has the whole meeting comedy show. I think it was on Alyssa. It might have been on a different Clips channel. If somebody really wanted that, I can go back in my history and find it. But there was a comedy club that There's a comedy event that Arron was hosting as a replacement host, if I understand it correctly, because the host, her father, was murdered. Like legit, like murdered. Okay. And so she obviously could not attend, and so Arron took over as the host. Well, there's a notable interaction I know that is in this clip between Arron and Nick in the audience, where basically Nick in the audience is saying basically you should get a gun and make a hole in the back of your head. So I don't know. I think it was old like Nick in one of his like weird joke things, which we've seen Nick jokes before on here. Like Nick can't joke. Nick is awful. But yeah, Nick's stand-up stuff is awful. It really fucking is. You're 100% Jim.
Out of the show.
Oh yeah. I heard about
Yeah,
that.
it was really
Brutal,
sad.
brutal, yeah.
Chrissy, a good friend of mine. Great.
Oh, she's
person.
great. Yeah, I love her.
Wonderful.
So that was the one. Sorry to. It was the one where Nick performed that as well. You brought him in for that show. Yeah, okay, I remember that. Okay, and he told
look, man,
anyone if we covered that show, he would flag it and shit. But yeah, sorry, go ahead. So it was October.
I don't give a fuck. I think people who troll me recorded it and played it on their shows. Who fucking
Yeah,
cares?
yeah, I know. But okay, cool. Time.
Which is why there's not a whole lot of footage out there.
So we hung out. We drank afterwards. It was fun. It was a good.
I don't know. Nothing can beat the fucking cop at Denny's joke. That was awful. Holy shit. But yeah, his stand up is pretty fucking bad. By the way, hi Kaya. God, Kia. Why do I always say your name wrong? No matter what. I always say Kaya instead of Kia. I apologize. Okay, moving on.
Good time. April and Kayla got along great. Nick was on Molly. He and I got along as well as we could. He was cool enough. Then we hung out the next day before they left town. We watched a movie in the morning. And then April would go to their land to hunt. April is a deer hunter. I would go sometimes. November's a little cold for me. I'm kind of a like that. And I would stop hunting around then. She would go to their land to hunt. I've thought about this as time goes on, as I've been away from it. I don't know if they introduced her to anything in that time period or not. I have no idea, but I have my suspicions now. But we went out to eat early December, probably like December 4th, I would think. And we went back to our place. And we all sat and watched a movie. I think it was Inglourious Bastards, actually.
So random. It's just
Django Unchained.
You're all on Molly.
It wasn't Django.
It wasn't Django.
It was a Tarantino film.
You're all high on Molly. Like, let's watch some Tarantino.
No.
And that's where it begins.
No, in there. Okay,
No
okay.
high on Molly. We went to dinner. We went to dinner. This was in December. We're watching a Tarantino flick.
Okay.
And Nick pulls out the little container that they call a bullet of cocaine. I learned so many cocaine terms.
How's it going, man? You couldn't hear me. You could hear me on stream, but you couldn't hear me in here. I just realized I was fucking muted in my own server.
Like, okay, man. I was like, God damn.
How
do I sound? I finally got internet in my goddamn room, so I'm just testing shit out.
Yeah, you sound fine.
That's good.
Yeah, you sound good, man. You're not roboting, nothing.
Oh, babe. So this, a lot of fucking work to get a goddamn Wi-Fi extender to work.
Oh, fuck yes. Yes, it is. Oh, shit. I gotta work off of fucking bullshit and everything else for my fucking cell service. Otherwise, I have no fucking cell service in my house. So when my internet goes out, I have no cell service either. It's lovely. Let me tell you.
So I'm watching your stream, and this Arron guy just seems like a cuck. I don't know. Seems like Nick's also a cuck. I don't know.
I would say, okay, so from the stuff that I've seen, especially after this, I think that Arron got set up to make it think that he is the one putting forward them being a wife swap or, polycule, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I think they made it so that he thought it was his idea, but I think that there's very good evidence that while April's up hunting deer, she's getting she's getting hunted and slayed and stabbed in other ways. Let's just put it that way.
God damn.
She's getting mounted for her wreck as well. There we go. We'll go with hunting terms.
Oh, god damn. Good job. Well, this just seems like one big cuckold story. That's all this sounds like.
Kind of is. Yeah. I mean, it's a wife swap situation. It's fucking stupid. These are all adults with children doing this, minus April. April's the only one that didn't technically have kids going into this.
Oh wait, so like, this Aaron guy had kids from a different woman, or
Yeah, previous marriage.
did he wife swap with that one too?
I don't think so. I think this is all new middle-aged getting bored with life shit that they're trying to do here. I don't know how you can
Divorce
be
your fucking wife at that point. Who gives a-
I don't know how you could be this well off and everything else and like you're getting bored with life to the point that you're swapping sex partners with somebody else.
At this point, yeah, just fucking divorce your wife at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, it probably would have been better off for the kids at the very least.
Because April got indicted, Nick got indicted, Nick's wife got indicted.
Yep. April, I guess, dropped charges and walked. I don't know if she just basically did one of the everything in the house is theirs, and that's why they kept the charges and everything else and increased charges on Nick and Kayla, or if she's maybe turned a witness or what.
Because it
Let's
applies to
go.
everything,
It's
apparently.
wonderful. I know about drugs.
Yeah, a bullet, for anyone who doesn't know,
I'm
it's like
pretty
shaped as a
sure-
bullet.
Hey,
I
I'm
do
Right?
wait, pause.
37
I
years
do
old and I
know
have
that
3
Review
children.
Tech USA went at fucking Warski today, and Warski fired back and got blocked immediately. So,
Oh, I'm not surprised.
because
Dude, he
what
is
Rich
just
is
craving
doing
attention.
is Rich is trying to get Warski on his fucking retarded gay show, full of retarded gay people, and he unblocked him to make a poll saying that Warski's ducking him, and as soon as Warski responded, he got blocked. So it's
Oh,
like,
Jesus
okay,
Christ.
you want him to debate you on some, because you're a pedophile, you want him to debate you, and it turns out you're just, you're retarded. Why would you like call him out and then fucking block him?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, that's some
Rich is
stupid ass
on
shit.
Rich is on his fucking Nick Rakieta fucking meth arc, I guess.
Oh shit. Yeah, this gets pretty good. PPP lays into fucking Aaron at a couple points, and it was actually pretty fucking good.
That I did Molly for the first time. What a fucking cool guy I am.
Go, buddy.
Oh,
Let's go,
shit,
buddy.
A
Bro.
degenerate sucker if there
Yeah,
ever
so-
was.
No,
You want
buddy,
to tell people
listen,
what a bullet is? I know what it is,
Yeah,
but you go ahead.
Go ahead. You let us know.
Yeah.
So we're watching the Tarantino
No,
film.
no, just tell people what a bullet is, because there's not
A little container of cocaine. Like you just
easy
put cocaine in
access.
it,
You pull it out of
and
your
you can just
pocket, you go
screw
like
the
that,
top
and
then
bang. Yeah.
Give yourself a little
A
something.
bump. Yeah, fast bump. Yeah.
Worski knows. I'm a fucking choir boy compared to you, buddy. I don't.
Yeah, I know.
I'm from the Midwest. I drink
That's
beer.
why I
from
don't
college.
judge.
I don't
That's
fucking
Warski
know.
is a cokehead.
I drink
Alright.
beer and watch Timberwolves playoff games. I don't know what the I'm talking about.
Let's fucking go.
So
Let's-
we're
you go
we're
on.
watching it. Pete, shut the up, Ashton. No, I'm just kidding. No, we're watching the Tarantino movie, and Kayla and April start making out. Fun, cool.
Right.
I said here's something that's got me thinking.
I can see it beginning that
Yeah.
way, right? Like your
Yeah.
wives start making out, and it's like it's cool, right? Because it's like lesbian action. It's hot,
Yeah.
Wonderful.
and that's what opens the door to it, right?
Yeah.
Boob
And I
touching
I
and rubbing.
respect- And I want to say, I respect I appreciate your respect as a man while I'm talking about that, to have both your hands above the screen. I do appreciate it. Ash.
Exactly. We
Very
got
good.
it's a fire me up special.
You're a godly man. So
Very.
they're making out. And here's what's got me thinking that I don't know if something happened before this while they were, while April was out there hunting or not. I don't think so, timeline-wise. But who knows? Nick goes to to run his hands up April's thigh. And I go, whoa, 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 whoa. And he pulls his hand back real fast. Like, I'm sorry. I'm on Molly. I'm sorry. I didn't know. I'm like, all right, just fucking making sure. So I start doing things to my wife while her and Kayla are making out. Nick starts doing things to his wife while they're making out. Then we break.
This shit sounds so fucking weird. Like fucking around with your wife while another dude and his wife are sitting directly across from you, fucking around, like in the same bed.
This is the start of the cuck story.
Yes, this is just fuck.
It's like the revelations. Like at first, it's like, nah, don't touch my wife, and later on, it's like, go ahead, touch her all you want.
No, you can have her. I like your wife better.
His wife is not good looking. Jesus Christ.
Well, apparently she was okay looking. Cocaine's a hell of a drug, is all I've heard.
Goddamn, bro.
I mean, I don't know.
I mean, look. Well, at least Rakieta lost some goddamn weight. He did look like a fat ass sometimes. So
yeah,
I guess that's a positive. Okay.
Yeah, but he went from that to like leukemia stage 4 patient. Like I don't know if that's necessarily a better look. Like he looked like he was literally, you know, like a couple breaths away from death.
I'll give you that, true.
Kayla and Nick go in
I don't
one
know,
room.
obesity type 2 or leukemia type 4. I don't know. Which one's worse? You can play.
Oh, sorry, I was just reading something in chat.
Oh yeah, I forgot you're kind of streaming.
And the other, April and I both do a little bit of coke. Nick pours a little bit of coke out. April does some, I'm assuming for the first time ever, which she looked at me, she goes, is this okay? I said, you know, I had one bump at a wedding when I was like 30 at that time. And I'm like, I go, it's up to you. You know, you're your own person. You know, you can do what you want. Right. And then I did one bump and I'm like, God, I forgot. I really don't like this. It doesn't feel good when it goes. I just don't like shit up my nose. So, we do that.
Okay, then don't do
it. I will say it's a bit of a learning curve. Like, okay, so I was talking a lot of shit on my last stream. I've got a lot of experience with this shit. I did coke for a while. I did pills and all sorts of stuff. And so, like, I know what he's talking about. And it's like, there's a learning curve with, like, you don't, like, snort it up, like, your nose, like, in the front of your nose. You want it all the way back in your sinuses. So, like, it's a trick learning to, like, snort and, like, still be able to breathe and, like, shit. It's a skill. It's not a great skill. It's an awful skill, actually. But it's a skill. Yeah.
Is it a skill that you master?
Yeah. I mean, there's stupid shit like when you're sitting there and you're about to do a line, like you've got to be like very aware of shit. Like you don't want to accidentally breathe out through your nose because you're gonna blow the line all over. So you're like exhaling through your mouth and at the same time. So I mean, there's things like that like it's just stupid little shit that you learn. But yeah, I got into it because I was middlemaning for another guy that was buying it, and he's like bitched about fucking quality at one point. He's like, well, here's how you gotta try it and everything else. And I was like, tried it and, you know, did all the tests and everything. I was like, fuck, I like this. I like the feeling of it. So then I started fucking doing it.
Do you still do it?
Oh no, it's been like fucking 15 years or so.
God damn, congratulations.
Yeah, it's been a long time. But yeah,
15 years sober, Nick starting that process.
Nick can't even make it 15 minutes. Let's be honest. The longest sobriety he had was sitting overnight in that fucking holding cell.
April and I have sex. I'm assuming the two of them had sex. And when it's all done, I remember Nick was downstairs. April went downstairs. They're in the kitchen. Kayla comes into my room, comes around the bed, stands by me, and starts showing me like pictures of her family and telling me stuff about her family. Like, here's this person, here's that person, so on and so forth. And I'm like, I'm just kind of like, just because of everything that went on, I'm like, does she like me? Like, we're both married. Is this like a thing? I don't really
You
get
felt
what's going on.
flirtatious
So
energy.
you're saying,
I
yeah,
felt the flirtation, and obviously I
Yeah.
thought she was an attractive woman. I'm not sitting here going, "Oh, this weird bitch is fucking talk." I was like, "Oh, it's all right, okay."
So she was coming on to you right away.
I don't know. I'm terrible at
That's
reading.
the sense. That's the
Almost
sense.
like a flirtation, like the energy was there,
We were
not
being
the
flirtatious.
words, but
Right,
like
we were
like you're near her, sort of like arms touching. Oh, look at this! Yeah,
We both just had sex. She's leaning over me. Yeah, it was a sexual
yeah,
energy. shall we say.
exactly. Okay.
So then April and I leave for Las Vegas the next day, and I am a little weirded out by what happened the day before, and I'm uncomfortable around my wife. But she's talking about this experience like, oh, that's kind of exciting, right? That was kind of fun. And I'm like, yeah, I don't really know what to make of it. I'm not against it. I'm not for it. I'm more in the realm of like, what the just happened? So then we get a day to think about it. Friday morning, we're in Las Vegas, and I go, she's getting ready in the bathroom. I go get her. I go, I want to talk to you real quick. And I was thinking about Kayla standing next to me, and I can't remember if she was naked or not, but I think she may have been topless. I can't remember.
You
And I
can't
just
remember
remember
if she was naked or not.
Dude, when we get to all the stories, there's a lot of shit that's just gonna.
Okay.
It's just too much.
All
My
Like he's
my
not
fuck-
sure if it was that time or the next time. You know, like it's like drugs.
my RAM is overloaded.
yeah, yeah.
I can't process shit right. I really can't. Like
Okay.
shit happens to me now,
And
and
you
I'm
were
like,
f***ed up too, right? Like you're on drugs,
Yeah.
drinking, all that stuff. We get
Sure.
it. Yeah,
We get
makes
it.
sense.
so I talked to my wife, and we just had a talk about what happened that night, 2 nights ago, and we talk about what we'd like to do, and I'm like, we know their reputation, and I went, I think I'd like to try this. Like
The
I
reputation.
again,
Could you
the
maybe
degenerate
clarify?
here that started this was me. I asked the question first.
Was it the hedonism stories? Like, was that what the reputation you're talking about?
I didn't know about the hedonism stories. I just knew in general the Rakietas had swinger stories around them.
Did you hear about the hedonism stories?
Wait, what? No.
Okay, so the Rakietas took this trip to a retreat called Hedonism 2. And it's down in like the Caribbean somewhere. And apparently like they're approached down there by a couple that's like swinger couple and whatever. And the husband hooks up with Kayla, and he was supposed to hook up with the wife, but could not perform or whatever. So ultimately ends up just getting cucked while his wife gets fucked by this guy down there. Big black dude too. So, you know, not for whatever.
The typical big black dude cuck story. Got it.
Yes.
God damn.
So yeah, that's one of the stories that I've heard.
Hey.
Okay. Like, is this a known thing in Minnesota? Like locally, are they known for swinging, or are you going based off of like
Internet lore.
the Kiwi Farms?
Okay,
lore
okay,
or
okay.
whatever? Okay.
Internet lore.
Okay.
This
So
is
you
This
weren't
is so
surprised.
embarrassing. What the fuck?
Oh, I was muted on stream. God damn it! I hate that I got a fucking mute in 2 different areas. Jesus Christ.
Oh damn. What he said, chat, is poopy pee 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 poo poo. That's what he said.
Yeah. I was speaking Morse code. It's a lot of beeps and like tones, and so you didn't miss a whole lot. No,
But we
basically,
didn't.
all
But
I
we can
said is
ignore the Huggy Bear in audience. We can definitely ignore that motherfucker. Fat fuck in the goddamn audience.
Oh man, Huggy's my dude. Huggy's been pretty chill for me.
Gigi Evans, the smarter than Huggy guy. Call in.
There. So there's the whole thing we already talked about with the whole where he finds out about the whole arrest and everything on Misery Loves Company. We went over that in the previous stream, but that basically he was kind of running deflection for Nick Rakieta and everything for a long time against Worski and PPP and the casino people, saying, no, we're not fucking around with Nick and we're not fucking around with Kayla and all that stuff. Well, they thought, Nick was fucking April and everything else. Shit, there's even shit I didn't even tell you about. Like, do you know about the speeding ticket burn?
Oh, I'm completely new to the Rakietas stuff.
Okay,
So
so
like,
April Imholte,
Okay. Can you
Arron's wife, Okay, gets
Mm.
a speeding ticket, and so Nick Rakietas is going to represent her on the speeding ticket. So they're like, we're going to go to court, we'll fight it. And so she lists Nick as her lawyer. Well, Nick misses the fucking hearing completely because he was up one night drinking, probably doing drugs, now that we know, and just totally fucking missed the entire fucking hearing. Which is funny because I believe April actually showed up for the hearing. And this would have been while they were fucking around with each other in the same house.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So like it's there's a lot of lore. There's a lot. There's 6 months before this moment of them fucking around behind the scenes, and Kino Casino saying shit, and even Arron at one point he's like, there's times where like you guys would say shit, and he's like, it was way off base. And he's like, there's other times you guys would say shit, and he's like, I swear to God, you were in the fucking room with how accurate you were. And he's like, and I'm sitting here and I'm having to lie, and I'm having to like deflect and make up lies and shit because I don't want people finding out that we're fucking around and doing all this shit, especially because of drugs, even though that's eventually found out anyway. I mean, I don't know what resolution they saw coming from this.
Can you answer this for just before we go any further on this?
Man.
Do you know if Drexel has had sex with Kayla?
I can tell you. I'll tell you that Kayla has told me no.
Okay.
I trust her on that, and I've never met Drexel. I don't
You've
know.
never met Drexel.
Never met him. He was never at the Rakietas house in the 6 months I was there.
Drexel's a big black dude, best friend of Nick, that supposedly fucked Kayla at some point. Just so you know, Burn. So this would have been black dude number 2.
Bro got black.
Oh yeah, Drex is part of
bro.
MGTOW.
Yes.
Black.com really be true in this family, bro.
They on that browser's life.
All
Okay.
right, back to the timeline of you
What were you saying?
I was just saying that Drex is part of MGTOW as well.
opening things up and how
Yeah.
we all
So-
got here.
April seemed way more gung-ho on it than I thought she would. So I was just like, all right, cool. That night,
Did that
at
upset
dinner-
you? Did it upset you that she was so easily like open to it?
I feel bad saying no. I want to tell people this. If you're thinking of opening up the sanctity of your marriage, let me tell you something. You're fucking done.
Yeah.
You're done.
Yeah.
You don't want it anymore. You're bored, whatever. Subconsciously or consciously, you just want to fuck some strange.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And that's what it started out. That's what it started out as. That does not negate the feelings I told you that I developed for Kayla later, everything else. I don't want to disrespect her in that way. But
Now, I don't want to be disrespectful to you, but do you think it had anything to do with April not like orgasming? Because she said you never made her
know
orgasm.
where that fucking story came from. Our sex life was fantastic. If as everything else was fucking garbage, that was good until the last time.
She made that joke or something, and then
made
Red
a
Bar
joke on
started
the air,
talking
yeah.
about it. Yeah, yeah. I
I made
remember.
a joke on air. She's like, oh, not every woman comes every time from sex. And that becomes, oh, she doesn't come. And it's just like, I'm just like, you motherfucker. Like, she wasn't saying anything shitty. She wasn't bashing our sex life. But I looked at her and went, you know how the internet's going to take that,
And
right?
you were pissed. Yeah, you were like
was
seething.
pissed.
Yeah.
Well, number one, I'm not saying I'm the greatest that ever lived, but I laid some good dick with this woman. And here she is saying this. And I'm like, she doesn't mean anything by it. But I'm like, you wonder, like, I think more in terms of like what people are going to say, whereas she just kind of says shit. And I'm like, that's why she was so caught off guard when I was like, what the are you doing? She's like, what? I didn't say anything. And I'm like, no. People are going to take this the wrong way.
Yeah, I could see that. So are you saying, were you pushing more for it to be opened, or was she pushing more for it to be open? So you're saying
That's my idea.
this
'Cause
was
she wants
your
to fuck
idea to
Kayla.
open the relationship.
Yeah, this was my idea.
Okay.
And
But then she was open, and you were like, "That was kind of quick."
she was a little bit too quick of a yes. And then we're talking to Nick and Kayla on the phone at dinner that night. And I'm
Okay.
like, all right.
Uh-huh.
The first thing, actually, Las Vegas was the first red flag I got from this whole thing. Because as soon as we text them about this idea that I had, the first thing Nick did was, do you guys have the Signal app on your phone?
Whoa! What is this Signal app? What is it?
And I'm like, I have no idea what the that is.
Okay.
He goes, it's an encrypted messaging app.
What the fuck?
And I'm like, well, why can't we just text? No. Let's use the Signal app. And I'm like, well, there's nothing illegal about fucking each other's spouses. Like, I mean, we can fucking talk about this like adults, you know?
Oh no.
Yeah, it was just weird. So we had to use this Signal app all the time. And I thought I should have known, like, you're going to realize, I can see holier than thou, Ashton, the wheels turning already, going, these fucking degenerates, the judgment.
No.
You're right.
No,
You're right.
this is a judgment-free zone.
We've never
much like
judged
Planet
anyone.
Fitness.
Yeah. Real
no-
It's a judgment.
We have a lunk alarm.
You know what? I got
until I hit the end call button.
Listen. Did you make Kayla come when you f***ed her?
Oh, we did very well.
How many times do you estimate that you made Lady Rakietas moan your name?
Oh, Jesus.
How many times did you fuck her, do you think?
See, now I was talking to someone before we went on, and they prepped me. They said, Ashton's going to ask some hard-hitting questions.
Oh, yeah. Of course he is.
And they prepped me for some of them. One of them was, how many times did you guys have sex? Can't count.
It was
Whoa,
countless.
it was just
It
a
was
lot.
dozens of times.
Like I said, I love
Hundreds.
I was obsessed.
Hundreds?
I was obsessed with this. Hundreds? No,
Hundreds?
not
Maybe,
hundreds.
like 800?
In the like dozens to 100.
How many times a week?
At first, we always tried to keep it, or not tried to keep it, but it was always more spouses than other spouse. You understand?
Yeah.
So it'd be like a once or twice a week thing. I'd say at the peak, 4 or 5 times a week.
Did she suck your?
What are you, fucking gay?
Of course.
Yeah,
was
like,
there
what are you,
dirty
ate her
shit like and shit?
like that's what you do. You fuck. What am I? Not a gentleman?
Did she spit or swallow?
Come on.
You know
what
I
she
will
did.
tell you this. Listen to me. As a man, and maybe people in the chat will say as a I see getting my sucked as a precursor to the main event. So
Yeah.
if I'm getting close, I'm getting my up. I'm like, no. Let's get to it. I don't. So that
Right.
Was there toys involved at some points too?
Was she good? Was she good at sucking it, or what?
just a beautiful girl all around. She really
Yeah.
is. Just a lovely girl all around. I don't even say, no, look, you guys are giggling and everything. I don't say that as disrespect.
No, this is a crazy
No,
story.
like,
the story is
it's
epic.
amazing.
This is like the greatest story.
You're like one of the best Howard Stern
Yes,
segments
like,
ever. Like, you're
just
just
a lovely-
nailing it right now.
Yeah.
You're killing it.
No. And let me
Oh.
just say, into the camera right now, save yourself, sweetheart. You know you're better than this. There we
Whoa. By the way,
Did
your
you
channel
use
is in
the
the links
bald-
up there, by the way,
Yes.
everyone. Go sub to him, Steel Tour.
Did you ever use the Baldo on Kayla?
I heard the Baldo described one time.
Okay.
Nick described it, and he tried to sell it. Like,
Shut the f*** up.
well, no, it's a thing where
Hey,
you're
no, tell us.
Tell us, please.
No, tell us the time he tried to sell the Baldo.
He was like, no, you don't understand. The Baldo is this thing where it makes your balls hard. You can insert them, and then your can rub against their, and it can actually be very stimulating. I'm like, you know what else is stimulating? The shit out of somebody. You can just someone. You don't have to shove your balls inside them.
So he used the Baldo? He did.
I don't know. I cannot confirm.
But he's trying to sell
Whether
you
or
on
not-
it privately, so he for sure did.
Maybe he just believed in the product. I don't
Okay, yeah.
I don't.
Now, did you, in the course of any of this, did you ever see Rakieta's wang?
I never. I've seen it flaccid in passing.
Are you bigger than him?
I will say this. I will say it's close. I don't think I've seen it firm, so I don't know.
Flaccid in passing, where? Walking out of the hot tub, through the kitchen after fuck? Like what? Describe to me.
It would be kitchen after.
Oh, what kitchen after fucking? I was right. Second guess, Ash.
What would you get from the fridge after?
Here's what I remember. Here's what I remember about our.
What was
here's
the
what I remember.
post-coitus meal?
I'll answer the question like this. I remember one of the girls, I can't remember which one it was, when we walked in the kitchen, we didn't know each other were there. And one of the girls said, she goes, both of my guys have great. And I was like, thank you very much. Put it in my pocket and call her a day. That was April who said that, actually.
Wow. So did he use the Baldo on April, you think?
I don't know. I didn't want to know. I didn't fucking care. I was with my sweet Kayla.
Wow. So do you feel like straight up the love was reversed between you and Nick and April and Kayla? So like, did he fall more in love with April than he did with Kayla? Like,
yeah, 100%.
So it was like a full on.
I'm not sitting here going, Kayla and I were so in love and those two hated each other. They kind of,
it's like switched almost.
They kind of fought and tiffed with each other more than Kayla and I did. But I think the feeling was there, you know, like it was with Kayla and I. I think both of us, I think all of us were tired of the other person. I know April was tired of my nagging about drugs. I know that Nick and Kayla had been unhappy for a long time. And I was
did Kayla express any of the reasons why she was unhappy in the marriage to you?
She feels like Nick gaslights her. She feels like Nick, when she has a concern, Nick has a habit of turning it around and making it look like she's doing something wrong, to the point where she gets very frustrated. And like, Nick's not he's don't get me wrong, but
this is absolutely fucking dog shit and crazy, Kia. It is fucking nuts.
he's not a dumb guy.
No.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
No.
Like, he makes some of the dumbest fucking decisions and says some of the stupidest shit of any human being I've ever fucking met in my life, and it's infuriating, but he's intelligent, if that makes sense. So like with someone like Kayla, if he can be domineering over someone and he can overtalk them, they can kind of convince someone who's not as convicted as he is that they're in the wrong and he's in the right. And that would happen with Kayla a lot.
Yeah, he's smart.
Did
He's
you,
smart at setting up the gaslight. Like
Can you like point to an example? Like, did you ever see this happen in real life?
God. Should we do the fix her story? So the fix her story. You guys got time, right?
He's gonna go through a bunch of stories now, but you can start to see what I'm talking about with him, like kind of playing up the whole thing with Kayla right here, where he was like, oh, you know, kind of talking her up, in my opinion. And this is something that he's going to do quite frequently in the next, like, hour or so?
Yeah,
we got all the time in the world for you, bud.
all you, man.
So the fix her story. Nick and Kayla are screaming at each other in the bathroom. And I think I'm in the bedroom. I don't know where April is during the fix her story. I think April and I were in the bedroom. April and I were in the bed. Nick and Kayla were fighting. There was always drama. I always described the relationship between the four of us as we went from disaster to disaster, drama to drama. It was an intensely frustrating, stressful place to be. And I think it's because 3 people were on coke and one of them most of the time wasn't. And that's a frustrating spot to be for me. So Nick and Kayla are shouting, screaming at each other. I mean, frighteningly. They would have these knockdown drag-outs. I mean, just nasty fights. Some of them would end with Nick walking around hitting himself in the head like a fucking ape. This one in specific, Nick and Kayla are yelling at each other. Nick comes storming out of the bathroom. I hear Kayla crying. Nick points at me. This really upset me. Nick pointed at me and he goes, "Go in there and fix her."
What did he mean?
I don't know.
Holy shit.
Go in there and fix her.
Whoa.
So I go in there and she's on the floor crying, basically in a ball crying. And I comfort her and I talk to her a little bit. And it's just, I mean, I don't know the specific conversation because these all run into each other. A variation on You know, he's gaslighting me. I'm so frustrated. Nobody understands me. Nobody can see me. Nobody can hear me. That's how we got close, is one of the things she would always say to me, and I would say to her, she would look at me she wouldn't want to talk about what was wrong. And I would start going, well, is it this? Is it, I understand maybe you feel this way, blah, blah. And she would look at me with tears in her eyes. She would go, you speak my thoughts. And that would touch me. That really, like, I'm not, like, you guys are going to find, I'm not some fucking monster who's here to just rat people out.
Oh, obviously
This
not.
touched me. This meant something.
Yeah.
So in the fix her thing, I go in there, I talk to her, and it's just they're fighting. And then Nick comes back in and they start yelling at each other again. Now I'm in between the two of them. This is remarkably uncomfortable. I'm not high. They're high, or at least he's high. And they just start fighting. Literally, I'm in between the two of them. Kayla leaves. Nick pours out the two biggest fucking rails of Coke I've ever seen in my life. And granted, I haven't seen that much, but bigger than what they usually did. And just rips them back to back. To the point, now he and I were still friends at this point. Literally stopped, put my hand on his shoulder. I said, buddy, are you sure that's okay? Because he had just done some before that. I said, buddy, are you sure that's all right? I don't want your fucking heart to explode in the fucking bathroom here. Nick always had this way of WebMDing his shit to explain it away. He would go, no, well, what you don't understand is no matter how much I'm doing right now, it doesn't get me more high. It takes time for it to process and come down. And I'm like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a stimulant supercharging the fuck out of your heart and you dropping dead. Like, no, it's fine.
Was he actually showing you shit online? Was he actually showing you stuff online?
No, he had an encyclopedia of bullshit.
So he acted I already looked at this up. I searched this already.
One time I asked him, because this was late. This was probably a week or two before I bailed. I confronted him. I said, dude, I know her and I aren't on the best of terms right now. This is when she was out. I was ready to file, like, just about over. Like, April and I had crossed the Rubicon already. There was no going back. But I did still care. And I'm like, dude, she's doing a lot. It's like every day. And you guys are drinking a lot. Like, even Kayla came to me once and she said, Aaron, you need to talk to Nick or April because our liquor bottles are disappearing very quickly around this house. I said, okay, talk about it. I talked to Nick. I go, and I didn't really want to talk about the booze. I was more concerned about the Coke. That's what scared the shit out of me. And I said, the cocaine use, dude. Let's talk about it because it's not good. We need to cut back on that shit a little bit. And he gave me this reason. He said, well, Aaron, what you don't understand is, understand how, like, people with ADHD, the stimulants they take allow them to pay attention better because their attention span goes up like this with the stimulant. It meets their demand for the, So he says about cocaine, he goes, well, Aaron, you see, sometimes our minds can only handle this much stress. But we have this much stress. So when I do cocaine, it elevates my body's ability to deal with stress to here, so I can then deal with the stress I face. And I remember just going to him, I go, that's total bullshit.
What was the stress? What was the stress that what was he mentioning? Like, what was the stress? Was it kids?
What you don't understand is this man was streaming at that point 1 or 2 days a week.
Okay.
He had a trust fund.
Yeah.
And that's very stressful.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Life's tough, bud. Life's tough.
I want to
say, there were some times with Nick where, as the son of a fucking baker and a lunch lady, I was like, you entitled cunt. Like, just fucking man up and handle your shit.
Yeah.
Like,
so I got to ask, like, because you were there a lot or a fair amount. What is, like, a day in the life of Rakieta? Like, is he mostly high, like, all the time?
I can tell you what I saw from time to time. Again, everything I'm telling you, I don't want to get into speculation. Everything I'm going to tell
whatever
you guys,
saw, whatever
is
you saw.
firsthand. Yeah.
Amazing things.
While I too, again, let's remember, while I too was being a degenerate, going outside of his marriage, scandalizing his relationship, scandalizing his children, all of these terrible things, being a bad father, being a bad husband. But a day in the life was this. I would get up. I'm an early riser. I do a morning show. I would get up on a weekend, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. And I would just sit and stare at 3 passed out people.
Oh,
That's it.
I would just go, all right. What are we going to do? I'd go take a shower or something. I'd kill some time. And then I kind of wake everybody up. I'm like, hey, can I go get breakfast? I remember one common thing with this relationship was that I was the one who was always going, hey, can we go do some shit? Hey, can I go get this? Can I go to... I was
You
restless.
fed the kids, right? You
I
fed
wanted
them
to get out of the
canned-
fucking house and do some shit.
Wait, where were the kids during all this, by the way?
They would wake up later, but they would still come and knock on the bedroom door.
Whoa.
By the way, we slept 4 of us to a bed.
What the?
Like, we all slept in the same bed.
Yeah,
I would sleep
okay.
with Kayla. Nick would sleep with April.
Okay.
Okay, so that was the sleeping
That
arrangement.
was the sleeping arrangement. Was April and I on the ends, Nick over by April, Kayla over by me. So sometimes in the morning, the kids would knock on the door and say either I'm hungry or this or that. I would say more times than not, I would go out and I would get them some food, something like that, because everyone else got up a little later than I did. Then there would be times where there would be fighting in the bedroom, or, you know, people were doing whatever they were doing in the bathroom, and someone would want something, and I would, more often than not, it was usually me who went and got it.
Wow.
I was just not into, like I said on my show, I did coke 3, maybe 4 times in total the entire time. Probably 4 lines, 4 bumps in total the whole time I was there. I did develop an affinity for Molly. It just seemed I wouldn't drink.
Pills
and I would
or powder?
I hate powder. I hate it. One time they had me do the licking thing.
The licking thing, yeah.
And, like,
You
so
wanted
every
more
time after that, I
control.
had
Yeah.
Yeah, I had Nick use papers and wrap it in like pill form, and I would take it that way. I preferred it that way. And what I would do is I just wouldn't drink that night. I'd pound water and Gatorade, and I would chill because everything was so dramatic and everything else. I would have fun. I would enjoy myself.
Yeah.
But I'd still realize, holy shit, dude, you're 30.
Yeah, Kia. So, Aaron and April would live at the Rakietas for weeks, as far as I understand, and I'm open to correction if this is wrong. From what I understood, Aaron would leave. Initially, it was Aaron and April would leave and go back to their house because he was like on a rotating like timetable with shared time with his ex. And so he would get his kids from his ex, and they would come over and spend time, so he would stay at the house. And eventually April got caught up more and more and more and more in the drugs, and she was spending less and less and less time around the kids, and so she would just stay at the Rakietas while Aaron would go and be with his kids at his house, and then he would come back after the kids had left and went back for their time with the mom. Then he would come back over. That's kind of how the arrangement worked for a while. And eventually Aaron, from his own words, eventually was like, look, you know, I can't be doing this stuff and having my kids. Like, I want to be present in my kids' lives and stuff like that. And there's some other heartbreaking stuff that when you get into the context of the next video that you hear, I'm going to try and I might jump to that and see if we can get to those points. Because it really drives home like what's going on when you read what happens with the warrant and what happened in the police report.
7 years old and you're a father of 3, cut the fucking shit. So after about half a dozen times of that, done with that too.
So let me ask you, what was the general sense, do you think, of how aware the kids were that their parents were on drugs all the time?
I don't think they knew. I don't think they knew.
Really?
I don't.
How about the sense of 2 people? There's a new couple in the bedroom sleeping with them. Like no one, even the high school kid wasn't like, what the fuck is going on there?
That I can definitely, I would say, if I'm just putting myself in their shoes, they're thinking, that's fucking goofy.
Yeah.
You know, like that's a little bizarre.
How old was the oldest one? How old was the oldest one?
Am I telling any tales out of school here if I...
no, it's known the oldest kid was 16, right?
Okay.
So he knows something's happening. Like, let's...
No problem.
Yeah.
You know, like you're 16, your parents...
Every single one of those 5 kids, angels. Every single one of them, great kids.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, they had to know. I mean, it's...
Well, you're 16, your parents are sleeping with 2 other people daily, and there's like, you know?
Let me ask you this. How were you introduced to the kids? Is it like this is Uncle Aaron and Auntie April? Or
Mr. Aaron and Mrs. April.
Right, and that
The-
was like, what was the official story as to why you were around all
Friends.
the time?
Friends, just really good friends.
Right, okay. Were there any other friends that would come around, or were
No.
you the only ones in this arrangement at this time?
No.
Do you know if
Maybe
anybody
that's
else?
maybe that's what Nick meant by aggressively monogamous. It's aggressive.
Do you know if he had done this with any other couples? Did he tell you, like, don't worry, we've done this with somebody else before?
You know, this is a really funny story. One time we were at my house, and I only have my kids 50% of the time, so it was easy to come to our house when there were no kids. And that was important to me. It, we'll get into it later.
Yeah.
With the couch story. But as
The couch story's messed up. I do want to play that.
far as the swinging experience and this and that, Nick and Kayla sat April and I down probably about a month and a half, 2 months into what we were doing, and they went, "Guys, we feel terrible. Feel like we've lied to you. We have a little more experience with this than we let on." And they talked about some of their experiences in Jamaica and this and that and some other things. And we're like, April and I are looking at each other and we go, yeah, we've read the internet. We kind of know this already. It was really weird because April and I were like, yeah, we know.
Can you get into some of the details of what exactly he said when he sat you down for this?
He did tell me a story about he and Kayla were excited to get into it with other couples. But unfortunately, because of his consumption of cocaine and Molly,
He was soft.
He was soft. He had
Kayla was able to perform. Nick was not.
So,
and that was a very traumatic experience.
And this was with a black couple.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Jamaica.
Most likely.
This is all
was this at hedonism or is this a different?
This was the resort. Yeah.
Wait, so you're telling me some guy is banging fucking April and Kayla?
No. He's banging. So
Kayla and sorry, his wife, the gentleman's wife, and Kayla. Sorry, not
there's
April.
a gentleman balls deep in Rakieta's wife,
and his wife.
Rakieta tries to get into the other guy's wife.
But he can't. So then both women have to go on.
What happened? Did he get laughed at in that circumstance?
No, I remember him saying, I will say this, guys. And look, I don't like the guy. As I look back on my time with him, it's worse because I think there was a lot of manipulation and shit going on. But
okay, that kind of gets into the hedonism stuff and everything else. I kind of want to jump forward here. Let's see. Boldo. Sorry, I just want to jump forward, but I don't want to like overrun stuff. It's a Snow Angel story. It's not really that big of a freaking deal. Yeah, and let's see what we're
Kayla, welcome to come live with you.
Jesus Christ, no, I can't have a bunch of cokeheads with my fucking kids around.
If she gets clean, if Miss
This is kind of just playing it up.
I bet.
Fair enough.
I bet.
Good fucking snacks in that house.
The Joe Louis.
No, and the SpaghettiOs were top shelf. I have it. I'd make a little. I'd go 2 for you, 1 for me. But no, the nanny was, I think, fucking tired of it. Couldn't do it. Actually, no, I remember Kayla sent me a message because she had to sit down with the nanny. The nanny left, and then a few weeks later, I left. And Kayla finally had to sit down with the nanny to ask her why she left. And Kayla was feeling very sorry for herself, and she messaged me, and she said, well, I guess, I won't say the nanny's name, but she goes, I guess the nanny is the same way you are. She said she just couldn't do it anymore. So I'm guessing the nanny kind of knew something was up because I was there a lot. April was there a lot, and we'd go right back into the bedroom to hang out. And so I'm sure she thought that was fucking weird.
Mm-hmm.
So the Rakietas had this live-in nanny, and there's apparently, I never saw the streams and all the stuff that they're talking about with this Nick would bitch because the nanny would spend like $3,000 a month on snacks and stuff for the kids, apparently. Well, I'm going to give some justification here. So there's 5 kids, and when I broke it out, it averaged out to probably about $300 to $400 per kid per week when you consider it in like snacks and drinks and stuff like that. When we get into the police report, it talks about like the kids going to school after the nanny left and showing up and being like hungry and not being bathed and changed and stuff properly. Now I don't know how much of this is true. I don't know how much is maybe being conflated. We'll maybe go with that. But I have a strong idea that if these kids were eating that much, they probably stored away a lot of food because they were missing a fair amount of meals because they were left to fend for themselves, so to speak. And these kids don't really have a whole lot of life skills, from what I understand. This is not like your lower income or your even lower middle income families and stuff like that, where you grow up like I knew how to cook at like 7 years old. I was learning like basic stuff for cooking. I knew how to do laundry. I don't know, like relatively young. I couldn't tell you when. I know the cooking. Like I knew how to take care of myself fairly young as far as like basic skills. Was I going through and could I make a dinner for like 5 or 6? Probably not. But I was helping like my grandmother cook. You know, I would help out with my mom and stuff. And then like actually it kind of flip-flopped when I got into like my later teens, like 15 to 18. My mom was working and my mom was working like overnights and stuff like that. So I actually ended up taking over, like, as a kid, like, taking over the cooking stuff and everything else. So that way, like, the house was kept up, the food was made, my mom had something to eat when she went to work and things like that. So, like, I can get some of people's perspective that you'll hear out there about how, hey, this kid should have taken care of his brothers and sisters, meaning the 16-year-old. I get that. But what they're not taking into account is these kids are also like highly active kids. They're going to a lot of they're going to a lot of extracurricular activities. So like soccer, sports, dancing, music, whatever they did, right? These kids did a lot of extracurricular things. It's not, you know, a lot of upper class, middle upper class, and all that households. It's kind of typical to have your kids doing a bunch of extracurricular activities because it looks great for like colleges and shit like that later on. Well, I think with all the stuff that these kids were doing, on top of, again, let's not forget, Kayla is a stay-at-home mother, doesn't have a job. Nick's job is relatively fucking easy. These people could have been providing for their kids. Very, very fucking easy. And they weren't. It's not like they were out of the house. It's not like they were on-the-go parents. I believe they had the nanny there as a luxury to allow them to have more luxury time to themselves, to indulge in their degenerate shit that they were doing here. And so they could be single again. So I think they kind of got used to that lifestyle while the nanny was there. Why they weren't able to or didn't find a replacement nanny still strikes me as kind of fucking weird. I'm guessing it's because Nick's drinking during this time was really taking a hit on his streaming income, and his streaming income had gone from, you know, maybe receiving like a few $100 to $1,000 per stream. It slowly trickled down to the point that, like, before all this stuff came out, he had actually had streams where he made no money. And he had streams where he had made, like, very little, like, under $200, which is not a lot, especially when you're talking about, again, Nick Rakieta at one point was the top earning streamer for YouTube. He had made tens of thousands of dollars in single streams. So it was a big impact to their livelihood, I'm sure. But I still don't understand why even with all this, like, we give a lot of excuse, in my opinion, to the fact that Kayla didn't have any responsibilities, so to speak. She could have easily taken care of these kids. Oh, I'm sure finding a live-in nanny isn't the easiest, but they could even found like a day or evening nanny to help out with stuff. And they still could have enjoyed their degenerate lifestyle, so to speak. What I think was happening was they were also slowly burning their name, like sullying their name in the town that they're in, and they're in a small community. I wouldn't say it's like real small town rural shit, but they're in a relatively small community outside of a major metropolis. So, I don't know. It could at least find people to come during the day, yes. And so there's another thing to this that a lot of people forget about. So, when we get into the police report, you'll hear this, and I want to point it out now because I want it to be in everybody's mind. So the two oldest kids, I know, is 16 and 12, I believe. Those kids attended actual school, so they were gone from, say, like 7:30 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon, right? Like, that's typical school day, we'll call it. 3:30, say they got home, right? That's without extracurricular activities. You know, with extracurriculars, it might be 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock that they're not getting home till. And then you had the middle children were all, and the middle children, or the middle child, I believe, was attending, like, schooling through, what was it? Their church or something like that. And I believe even the youngest ones were attending for a while, but then were withdrawn from the program. So when I say the youngest ones, the age ranges in this all span from, the youngest is 6 years old. The oldest is 16. The two oldest is 16 and 12, I believe. And then I believe it's like 6, maybe 7 or 8, and then like 10. So the youngest three are relatively young, and it would be a lot for the youngest three to take care of even each other. And then when you're getting into it, if the middle child is going to school also, even if it's, you know, for the religious school, whatever you want to call it, right? You still have the youngest kids who are not attending any school. So then you're looking at, should a 7-year-old really be responsible for taking care of their 6-year-old sibling because their mom and dad are on drugs in the bedroom? I don't know. I think a lot of people brush that shit off way too fucking easy because they pin everything on the 16-year-old and like, the 16-year-old should have been taking care of all this stuff. They're also fucking affluent. From what I understand, Kayla's family has a trust fund. Nick may or may not have a trust fund as well. So they have residuals coming from that. Nick's also made a lot of fucking money. I'll dare to say hundreds of thousands of dollars. I believe I'm undershooting it. And has all this fucking income from other areas. And so they have the income to support even their degenerate lifestyle while still taking care of their kids. And when we get into it, according to everybody that was responding to their arrest and everything, this house is disgusting. And even Arron talks about it at one point. He's like, I tried cleaning up the house a couple times. He's like, the carpets and shit were so disgusting, they were too far gone. He's like, it was a futile task sitting there trying to clean the carpets because you could not get them clean. Even like when you cleaned everything up, it still looked gross and dirty because of how much they mistreated things. And they lived in a 5,000 square foot home. And I will, I'm going to see if I can pull something up. Just because. Yeah. All right. Business site. We're going to watch a bit of this. I want to show you something really particular.
No.
So, this was a clip put out by Alyssa Clips. And here, you can even get a good idea Look at the kitchen in the background. Ready? Like we'll go even deeper. Boo boo boo. Because he does this local stream. A lot of these local streams you'll see are taking place in other portions of his house. But is this really about the best we get? It might be a little bit better. Here, we'll just jump forward because we're not really watching this stream. But you get a pretty good idea at one point of the counters in the kitchen and just how gross this house is. For as big, here it is. He moves. If you look behind him, like over here, look at all the shit on the counter behind him. It's hard to see because Worski's in the way. But then when he moves again, you know, you can see even more shit still on the counters and the windows. Like, these people lived absolutely fucking disgusting. And this is the shit that they expose their kids to. I thought there was a really good shot of the counter at one point. But anyway, it gives you an idea. Like, it's fucking filthy. And this is just what he was willing to show. So think about that. This is the shit that he's like, you know what? I'm not afraid of people seeing this part of my life. And this is just disgusting. Can you imagine what the rest of the fucking house looks like? And like I said, at one point we're going to hear from Arron and he's going to talk about like things that he had to do in the house and what he did around the house.
And she's sitting there running the kids around doing all this shit. I'm sure she's a little resentful that there's these two other people in the house. We're just hanging out in the bedroom.
How old was the nanny?
Early 30s.
Okay.
She was cute too.
Did you notice a difference in the cleanliness of the home after the nanny or maid?
No, the nanny
left?
didn't really get into the cleanliness. The nanny's full-time job was just like running the kids around and getting groceries and shit. Because when you stream once a week, you're too.
So that's all the nanny's job was taking care of getting the kids to where they need to be for their extracurriculars and then getting groceries and stuff. And you know what? When we talk about the whole $3,000 a month for snacks and stuff, I still strongly believe that it wasn't $3,000 in snacks. This guy's not like he went on stream and showed like, look at this, she's buying like 20 packages of Gushers and shit like that. Like I bet you that a good portion of this is like things for the kids to eat, not just snacks. Like even if it's just like quick meals and stuff like that, like the SpaghettiOs, which is a big part of the lore.
Too fucking busy to drive your kids around.
Exactly. So we got to ask about this because it was in the police report that it was a dirty home. There were clothes
that police
everywhere.
report is a fucking lie. That house is so much fucking dirtier than that goddamn police report said. Those cops went easy on him. I'm sorry.
Tell us. Tell us.
Yeah.
You walk into that house. First of all, their observation, dust everywhere, 100%. I remember sweeping. I would sweep the floors. I probably swept the floors 2 or 3
You were a
times.
Janny.
You literally
a
swept
literal Janny.
Here's my thing, guys. I didn't want to sit in that fucking bedroom and bathroom all fucking day. I went out and did housework to keep myself fucking busy and see that the kids were all right.
Fair enough, yeah.
I would go out, and I also had a couple of missions. I'll talk about those in a second. But I would sweep the floors. Dusty as I mean, dusty roads, baby. I mean, it was bad. And then you'd go to the kitchen island, you know, the counter area, just filled with papers and shit. You can't put anything on it. Then you go to the dining room table. And before I got there, I was so proud of this. I started referring to it as my table. Their dining room table was full of just papers and toys and all kinds of garbage and shit. And to me, like, I'm an old school, you know, I was raised old school Americana, like the dinner table, that's where you all gather and everything else. And I'm like, well, let's give these kids somewhere to sit and eat and everything else. So I got the kids together one day, and Kayla came out for this too. One thing I was really proud of Kayla on, when I would have projects with the kids to clean stuff up, Kayla would come out and join and be a part of it. And I really thought at one point, I'm like, I'm going to pull this woman out of this shit. I really am. I'm going to help. And it just, there was always a tractor beam back to Nick and the drugs and all that would just pull her back, unfortunately. But with the table, I got all the kids together and we cleaned off that table. I mean, we We cleaned off what was garbage. What went to this kid's room, I made individual piles for the kids of their stuff, and they took it down to their rooms. And we get towels and with soap and water. We'd wash the table off, and we swept the floor around the table, and we got it clean. It was great. And I got the kids dilly bars for helping out cleaning.
Wow.
And this was a very foreign concept to them.
Wow.
Because they don't do any chores or anything.
Sure.
So you help them turn the crack house into a crack home, basically.
Yeah, I know. I'm sitting here as Mr. Nobility. It's like, hey, everyone's doing blow in the back room, asshole. Good point. You're right, Ashton. But then the sink was always just full of fucking dishes and never done. So I would always, when I would come over after my show or whatever, I would just start going to work on the dishwasher and the sink and trying to keep that thing empty. And you know what the number one thing I always ended up putting in that? You know what that dishwasher was always fucking full of?
What?
Fireworks.
What?
Just go ahead. Give it your best. What kind of
Sex
dish?
toys?
Was it sex toys?
Okay, you went a little deeper than I thought. Whiskey glasses.
Okay. I was
Whiskey
thinking
glass.
there's so many
Well,
sex toys.
So
There's dildos.
he had to make sure the whiskey glasses were clean.
Wait,
But
really?
as for the kitchen table his kids ate at, or the floors that they walked
Oh,
on.
no, I still
That-
washed the whiskey glasses. I mean, those weren't getting...
Oh. No, I'm saying, but that was the priority.
Yeah.
The priority was the whiskey glasses, not a safe space for his kids.
I mean, the
God
house...
forbid Lord Baldo drink out of a dirty glass, but go on.
And then the laundry situation. This was the biggest crime the police committed, was understating the laundry situation. There was dirty laundry from the laundry room in the middle of the hallway, out the door, around the corner, down the hallway, into the kitchen. Like into the kitchen area. There were dirty clothes. There were clean clothes in the living room, all over the furniture, all over the floor. They would be getting ready to take the kids to dance or something, and they'd be pulling out, like looking for tights and pulling in the living room for clothing. And you couldn't have company over at this house because where would you have them sit down? The carpets were disgusting, never cleaned, never vacuumed, anything like that. I vacuumed their upstairs carpets once. It was an exercise in futility. I never did it again.
Tell us why. Why was it an exercise in futility with the carpet?
Because there were, stains in it. It was so dirty.
It's like daily though. It was just like okay, you'd vacuum it next day or 2 days later.
It was more like the damage has been done.
Oh wow, so it's that bad. That bad. Okay.
And here's the saddest part: beautiful home. Anybody who worked for their money and actually valued what they had would thank Christ every day that they had this home. And this one was just treated like fucking shit.
Yeah. How about the mold? Was there mold? Did you see mold?
I didn't see mold.
All right, because the police said that there was mold in it too,
Okay.
which is kind of fucking,
I'll take their
terrible.
word.
With looking at that kitchen, would you really be surprised if there was mold in that kitchen and the dishes and shit sitting in the sink and the food growing fucking fungus on top of it because nobody's doing the goddamn dishes?
I'll take their word for it. They found cocaine. I'm sure they're not lying about that.
Yeah.
That would be funny. That's something Rakieta would defend too. He'd like, look, guys, there was no mold in the house. That's horseshit. I mean, that's the whole thing. I mean,
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Remember,
Okay.
well, Rakieta actually would justify licking the bottle because he didn't want to get the carpet dirty. I guess that was a lie too, eh? Why do you think he licked the bottle?
fucking guy? What's
why
that?
Why do you think he licked the bottle?
Because he's a hopeless alcoholic. Kayla would cry about this.
Really? Tell us about that.
We were down in the studio once, and Kayla was sharing with me a theory that she had. She said, Aaron, I swear to God, I think this whole thing was put together so Nick and April could be together. I think they set this up so that the two of them could be together. And she got me kind of thinking it. But like, again, I didn't mind because now my wife had gotten on coke and Kayla was being the fucking sweetest woman in the world. So I was like, I at one point I was just like, I got the better end of this deal. I'm happy, And, but she was in the studio one night and her and I were talking and she was on her knees and she picks up 2 bottles and she slams one of them down and she goes, he's a fucking alcoholic. I swear to God. And she just kind of broke down for a little bit. And we just had this conversation about like, can we get him help? Can we do anything? He doesn't think he has a problem. He fucking drinks all the goddamn time. There would be times where it would get really tense where Nick would come in with a drink and Kayla would say something like, Nick, it's 10:30 in the morning. And Nick would go, ugh. And I'm sitting between the two of them, and I'm like, oh, this is like a kid whose parents are about to fight. And I'm just like, oh, I have a tummy ache.
May I ask? Okay, I want to ask you something. So there are some people who are skeptical of your stories, right?
Sure.
So like there's that guy. I don't even know who the he is. Melton.
Patrick Melton, yes.
Okay, he likes talking about you, right? Some of
Yeah.
his people are all over Twitter, right? And they're like, oh, they're believing what? So what would you say to people who don't believe your story?
I was doing cocaine. I was doing Molly. I was being a terrible father. I was in this house at the same time. In no way am I absolving myself of any guilt. At any time I was there, I could have taken those 5 kids, called CPS myself, and gotten them help.
This is where it gets pretty goddamn good, in my opinion.
I engaged in all of
Why
it.
didn't you?
Yeah.
Because I'm a piece of shit who will pay for that until the day I fucking die. Up until the day before the arrest, I was on the phone with people going, guys, should I call? I know what's going on, but I also know how this makes me look. I was a chicken shit. I was a fucking coward.
Let me just like listen. Like, we don't need to hear all that shit. We're here to be on your side
Yeah.
today.
What I'm saying is,
You-
Andy asked me to respond to those.
I know.
people.
Well,
Like,
I'm just
not
asking
saying I'm
because
innocent.
there are people like in chat and people who are wondering, oh, if you are lying. I don't think you're lying. These stories sound very consistent to what we've seen.
I'm interested because a lot of people, they ask like, how into this was Kayla? Like, do you think she was originally against Nick's drinking?
This is also a pretty good question. This is where PPP is really getting in the groove of being like the bad guy, bad cop, so to speak. You'll see him push a couple times here really good.
And drugs, and she was dragged into the lifestyle, or was she just right there with it the whole time and pushing for it?
Here's
Because
what I will. Here's one time in this whole thing to prove this isn't just a shit on Nick Rakietas fest. And boys, again, I can only tell you what I've experienced firsthand. What I heard, what the story Nick told me, and I cannot remember if I got confirmation of this from Kayla or not. But the story Nick told me is that around the time that he turned 40, Kayla either started doing these things or wanted to start doing these things because she thought that's what Nick wanted in a woman because of the things he would talk. Oh, that's what it was. He said that Kayla started doing these things because she thought that's what he wanted. Now, Kayla would expound on that and go, well, I was only listening to his show and listening to the things he said and listening to the kinds of people he talked to. And I thought that was the kind of woman he wanted. I just wanted to be the woman that I thought Nick wanted. And
you know what? If that is the case, I can understand to some extent with Kayla. I will give her the morsel of understanding that and trying to keep a marriage together and everything else. Why the fuck did Nick not say anything? If, like, I mean, this is obviously all shit dream come true for him with this shit. Like, he wasn't stopping this shit. He didn't say, no, let's not do this. Dare I say, he's probably the one that was like, you know what? We should go get some things to make this a little more spicy. And that's how they got the drugs and shit coming into the house.
that kind of led to this. And then Nick just leaned the in.
Is that what Nick's worst day ever was, or do you know what his worst day ever was?
His worst day ever?
Yeah.
A stream?
Yeah, when he said like I had my worst day ever, and then that's like led to this decline. Is that what that was, or do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. Rakieta has referred in the past to having a worst day ever, and I was wondering if you had any insight into that.
I would think it would be when I let another man f my wife, but apparently that was out the door.
So a lot of people in the chat are asking about Kiwi Farms. How much do you blame Kiwi Farms for all of this happening to you guys?
I'll let this play out, and then I'm going to jump forward a little more.
I feel like they were reporting.
So you don't feel like they made you guys, swing or do coke or anything? Because that's what a lot of law tubers are saying, is that this is all the fault of Josh.
Yeah, then he
Moon,
spiraled or
Joey
whatever because
Farm.
These simp assholes. Nick has loved every fucking minute of it and never once has wanted to stop. As a matter of fact, a few weeks ago, the last time I saw Kayla in person, I don't know if Nick and April know I saw her. I'm not sure. But this was after I had departed. I met her on neutral ground. It was great to see her again. and she told me the story of how she had told Nick. And this is so fucking tragic because this may in fact be the batch they got caught with. Kayla said to me, Aaron, it's done. It's over. She even said to me, Aaron, I hope you're proud of me. I've been clean for days now. I said, I had tears in my eyes, and I'm so fucking proud of you for that. I'm so, because that's all I wanted from any of them. Like when I said I couldn't come back, I'm like, guys, I have kids who don't want to come to your house anymore. I can't, I'm hanging around my friends right now. See, the thing about hanging out with people addicted to drugs is that you get shut off from everyone else around you. And I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of family. I like hanging out with them. And I know, Ashton, I'm getting away from it here for a second. But when I told them I wasn't coming back, I was like, guys, I'm in my backyard right now. There's kids all over the lawn. They're playing with their friends. I've got friends and family and neighbors over here. I can't leave this again. I love this shit. We'll get to that later because that's when the Nick kill yourself.
Did Rakieta say? Did Rakieta say stuff about Kiwi Farms in private? Like, okay, can you give us some examples?
I don't think we really need to get too much into this, so we'll jump forward a little bit. I'm trying to pay attention to PPP because there's some good stuff.
I was just wondering what that charge is about, and nobody can seem to make.
The dear, sweet, lovely Kayla came down, tears in her eyes. I'm so sorry. This is wrong. I apologize. I forgot. We're.
Oh, this is the couch story. We can go back a little bit. We'll listen to the couch story really quick. Yeah, we'll go right here.
For her birthday, she likes like charcuterie, snacks and things like that. So I thought, you know what, Kay, sweetie pie, love of my life, gorgeous. I said, wouldn't it be nice to have something to keep all your snacks cool next to your bed, so you can have them there? I bought her a nice, like, old-timey looking 50s Frigidaire refrigerator and freezer. The fuck out of that house.
Like, let's say Rakieta goes to prison and she gets off. Would you be willing to step up and help raise the 5 kids? You can't.
I can't get involved with that world anymore.
You wish you could.
Brother, I've made too many promises to too many people who have helped pick me up off the floor from this thing, who would dump me in a heartbeat, drop me flat.
Fair enough. But at that time, you would have. At that time, you would have.
Just takes it up. And I look at him and I go, dude, what the fuck are you doing? He goes, what? I go, I got 3 fucking kids and an ex-wife who, if she found a speck of that
So this is the first time that he's talking about, like, when Nick brought drugs into the house. I really want to get to, I mean, the couch story isn't too big of a deal. Basically, what happened with the couch story, I could sum it up probably quicker than Aaron telling the story at this point. Nick and Kayla and all them were over at one point, and then he went into his living room. This is at Aaron's house, right? Aaron goes in the living room, and his youngest kid, who's like 4 or something like that, a toddler, is on the sofa, and within like arm's reach is this bullet device that Nick carries around that's got all the cocaine in it. So literally, like, he gets pissed off at him at one point because he's like putting his kids clearly in danger, not realizing that he's leaving fucking drugs laying around and all that because it fell out of his pocket because he's so fucking numb to the world. I think right here might be getting pretty good.
I've never heard Kayla make those noises before. When he was...
Oh, this is more sex shit. I really want to get into some of the good PPP stuff. See where we're at.
Here, okay? You mentioned to people that Nick brought you to the sodomy barn.
Oh, this shit is more sex shit. By the way, all these pause screens so far.
It's just you sit in it.
What's going on? Like,
you may as well.
At this point.
At this point, just go.
As far as sex toys go, I don't remember. You have the cupboard that your plates are in.
A bar.
A90s.
Boys,
A90s.
you're gonna fucking to do this. And instead, what you guys all did was just went, oh, these guys are swinging and they're just
May I say one thing then? On
Yeah.
your show, you're like, Andy wants to believe it's true. I was right.
Oh, this is good.
You know what I was doing, Andy?
What?
Lying.
All right.
I was lying.
So this gets
nobody
into
is-
this gets into them where they were starting to call out about Steel Toe Morning Show and Arron and all that, fucking around behind the scenes basically. And Kino Casino was calling them out on it. And they're like, no, these guys are lying. They're full of shit. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And Arron admits right here, he's like, I was fucking lying. He's like, you'll see.
Was lying.
Let's go.
I was
Worst
lying
ring
so
it
that on
up.
Twitter for the last 72 hours, people wouldn't call me a cuck.
Ring it
I
up.
know. Okay, so what did Rakietas say? He thought it was a good idea to do this?
Well, he was in it, so of course it was brilliant.
Oh my god.
He never thinks he does anything wrong. Dude, I mean, like, you probably shouldn't tell too many fucking people that. That's weird.
Wow.
I can't do this with people fucking staring at me and like peeking around the door. And he's like, oh, sorry, I just want to know like what you guys were doing. So Nick would text me, like I told you earlier, you don't get into this, like it's gonna be bad news, you know. And she's like,
Yeah.
it's only a little bit, and it's just to have fun. Kayla and I had met up on neutral ground, and she said, I've been clean for a few days. I go, that's fantastic. I'm proud of you. And she said, when we ran out last time, I said, that was it. We're not going to get any more. This is a story I got from Kayla. That's how I want to preface this. She said, when we ran out, I said, we're not getting any more. And Nick agreed. When we ran out, April threw a fit and said she would go by herself to go get more. And I told them, and Kayla said, I told them no. And then Nick and I had a fight, and he said, I'm not going to let her go to Minneapolis by herself.
Man's wife, but not the balls to pick up the phone.
I'm not
and
fighting
get
you on.
Right here. I finally found it. Sorry that took forever. We're going to go back right here.
way. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see here. Who else asked a question? LawTube, somebody here says you really need to buckle up, Arron, because LawTube is not going to be happy about this stream. Somebody here, Greed, says show text or it never happened. Well, I imagine the next step is are you going to be revealing text messages
On
to
your show or
corroborate
something?
this story? Because you have said a lot. So, people are going to be pressing you on this, and a lot of these people are like legal magicians. So,
Yeah. No, I do. I have an appointment coming up where all of that will be divulged. I'll give all of that away to the people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were saying you were going to talk to the police and basically tell them everything you need to tell them.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I like watching how fucking smug he was at his arraignment and watching how fucking smug he is now. I mean, if those kids are going to have any fucking chance, then there needs to be serious consequences.
I
for
agree.
this shit.
I agree too.
I agree. There does need to be very serious consequences, like at a bare minimum.
I need to like work on absolving myself of the shit I did and the things I didn't do to protect
Right
those
here.
children or protect anybody in that house and the role I played in it.
PPP
So
lays
if
into him
I
good
mean,
here.
how did you justify it to yourself to leave those children in a filthy drug den, Arron?
it was, I
You see Andy like, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
had 3 kids of my own, and I
That
was
makes it
looking out-
worse.
I was
doesn't it?
looking out for mine, and I was removing us from the situation.
But you're you're 37 years old though, right, Arron? Like you're a grown ass man with 3 kids, and you decided to snort coke and open your marriage and let this guy fuck your wife and expose this degenerate to your children, and you never thought maybe I should be the one to report it? Maybe it shouldn't come down to the church pastor or whatever.
I did think it. No, you're right. No, you're 100% right. I did think it. I didn't have the balls to pull the trigger. That pastor
But you did have the balls to do coke and fuck another man's wife, but not the balls to pick up the phone.
I'm not
and
fighting
get
you
them
on
help.
Yeah. I'm not fighting you on that. It's a it's something I got to live with. It's a mistake I made. It's shameful. Like it's the word I keep using is it's shameful. Like I'm going to have to work that off I guess in a spiritual sense for the rest of my life.
I
Like
mean,
what I
there
did,
is
there's nothing okay with what I did. I mean,
Yeah.
the only okay thing I did was stop.
Yeah.
That's
I
it.
agree with
Everything,
you.
everything else is it's unholy.
Yeah.
I agree.
And it's
I agree.
shameful,
I
yeah.
just
and
like
it's, you know,
like it's
tough.
just I can't help but get a bit pissed. But
I'm not going to fight you on it. You have every right to get pissed. Everything we did was degenerate and disgusting, and unfortunately, only one person can say that. I wish everybody could say it. I wish everybody could
Well,
admit it.
Creallen says the part of the kids not knowing about the drug use I find hard to believe. As
Yeah, they're basically reading super chats. Okay, I want to move on because we still got a lot of shit to cover. So I want to get into potentially criminal joins.
understand.
Well, there's a funny thing about this donation that I want to let play out. I'm going to let it play out. I'm going to let them answer, and then I'll tell you the funny thing about it.
Another one from Anonymous for 5. Question for Sean and Aaron. What do you guys think of Montegraph predicting Nick's future 2 years in advance down to the letter? For those of you who don't know, there's a clip circulating where Montegraph says, I think at some point in the next few years, Rakieta will go to jail for some unspeakable stuff.
Wow. I mean, that's a better prediction than I would have made 6 months ago. I mean, that's pretty crazy.
He got it right, but
The silence is deafening on this.
it's
Broken
Plus, he
clocks
says a lot
right
of
twice
shit,
a
though,
day.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, it's Monty just happened to be right in this
Yeah.
circumstance. You got to imagine, guys. What do you think Monty's reaction is to this stream tonight? Is it tap
Champagne.
dancing?
Champagne.
Champagne in
He's
the
got
Monty
"We
household.
Are the
No.
Champions" playing right now.
I actually don't think so. I don't think so.
No.
Like in the aftermath of
So we went over the monograph stuff, if you guys don't remember. This guy's a bit of a off-the-wall character, but basically, Rakieta said some audacious stuff, calling monograph a PDF file, and basically, long story short, monograph ends up suing Nick Rakieta. This lawsuit is still ongoing right now. Schneider is Monograph's lawyer, and Schneider is actually Nick's mentor when he got into law. So this is his mentor basically taking him to task right now. And this lawsuit's been going on for a little bit. But that all still has been going on and is going on while all this drug stuff and everything else has been going on. And so that anonymous donor, I may or may not know who that is. It's somebody familiar to the streams and everything else, and that would be Mr. GG Evans. He threw that question in there, and I thought it was a pretty good solid response about how quiet everyone, both Aaron and Sean, got it. Well, holy shit, he was right. So I wanted to play that one.
saying
This donation
what I
coming
think
up.
he's done wrong, but that's not a betrayal.
Watch
Sometimes you have to
all
call
of
people out.
PPP's
Like when I was on
reaction
with
and
Ralph,
shit
people
here.
are like, "Oh, men don't call the men out." No, that's what men do, bro. Your shit's not right. Get it fixed. That's how men act. They don't go, "Oh, well, you know, you should talk about." Like, no.
Also,
you're
the
wrong.
reaction
It
here.
needs to get addressed.
Fuck
We all
that,
know it's
John.
wrong.
Fuck that, John. I'm pissed because I didn't get a bump and I gave him my wife.
Brutal. Well, for you, Aaron, Anime Sucks Cope and Sneed for $10. Remember, we're still fielding questions for both Aaron and Sean.
Yeah.
He says, please ask Aaron if all the adults were under the influence and doing this degeneracy at any time while kids were there.
No, I don't believe.
Do you see his face on this shit? Hold on, let me go back.
Ask Aaron if all the adults were under the influence and doing this degeneracy at any time while kids were there.
No, I don't believe there was a time where everybody was inebriated and kids were around. Because I was on drugs so little. Because I did coke probably 4 times.
Were there times though when Rakieta was drunk or high when the children were there?
Yes. I'm gonna say
most likely.
The fact that you're even hesitating says that yes, there was.
Here's why. I can't remember a specific instance, but my gut would. there probably was a time, but I don't recall an exact instance where Nick was bugging out on coke.
Because you're telling me most of the day he's high or drunk, right?
He would do cocaine during the day.
Yeah.
Right.
But drinking,
So-
the real heavy drinking came at nighttime.
But if you go back to what we just watched, and I mean, I jumped around a lot, but if you remember in that, Aaron's talking about, him doing the dishes and everything else, and Kayla getting kind of pissed off because 10 o'clock in the morning, Nick would come out with a drink in his hand, and Kayla would turn around and go, Nick, it's 10 in the morning. Just keep that in mind for what you're about to hear. I'm just going to go back a little bit.
Yeah.
Right.
But drinking,
So-
the real heavy drinking came at nighttime.
Would
Doesn't
he ever
matter.
interact with his children during the day?
Look.
Yes.
Yes.
Look,
So
look,
he would
look.
interact with his children.
There were
while
times.
he was on drugs.
Okay,
He had an
put this in a
ounce
way-
of
let me put
coke.
this in a way- Let me put this in a way where Sean might be proud of me. I did see instances where he did coke during the
How
day.
about you answered in a
did
way
see
I'd be proud of you?
Yeah.
This gets really good, but yeah, you're right, Ellington. He was a fucking idiot for being on this show. But yeah, watch what PPP does here. You want to talk about holding a guy's feet to the flames? So listen what Aaron says and listen what PPP does with this. This is chef's kiss, in my opinion.
Let me put this in a way where Sean might be proud of me. I did see instances where he did coke during the
How
day.
about you answered in a
did
way
see
I'd be proud of you?
instances- No, because then I could
How
go to
about
heaven,
you?
but I might
How
also.
about you answer it in a way that would make Jesus proud?
Allow me to paraphrase the movie Kingdom of Heaven. God does not know me. Actually, you know what? He
Hope
might.
you enjoy
and
the
I-
lake of fire, friend.
Yeah, thank you. No, I saw him do cocaine during the day. I also saw him talk to his children during the day. Whether those two things overlapped, I can't remember a specific instance. There is a chance.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here. This is again my theory, a thought. If he's got an ounce of coke and he's buying it regularly and he's not trafficking it, he was on and judging by his nose and like how stuffed it was constantly, he was on coke every single day. There was not a day he was not on coke, in my opinion.
That is not an unsafe assumption.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, like, if you buy an ounce of coke, folks, if you don't know, that's a lot. And if you're buying that on the reg and you're not trafficking it, and he's doing God knows what else, cat and fucking Molly, this, that, the other, and his nose I would say this like in like December, I think. I was like, his nose.
By the way, I backed this up. I've gone back to some of the December stuff from Kino Casino, and Andy absolutely calls it out early.
Sounds a little bit funny. And then like every app we covered it, it's just like worse. It's like not
Oh
a
my
day,
God.
not
So,
a day.
I have a question for you, Aaron. And I don't know if you'll know the answers. Like, were you guys ever worried you guys were getting, like, just straight, like, garbage, like, full of fat?
This I'm not as worried about, but it's a valid question. Basically, did you guys ever get laced stuff? And he's gonna go into talking about how they tested for it and everything else. But I just wanted to let you know. Let's see, where is it? Hi, by the way, I'm the $10 donation from Anime Sucks Cope and Sneed that got that question. I'm also the $10 donation that comes after the one that we heard where about Monograph, where Monograph Rasputin also says that he's gonna donate and ask him about what do they think about a certain video, but unfortunately they don't play it. So I'm not gonna cover that. But yeah, I basically wanted to jump forward to this question because this was something that was heavily on my mind, given the stories and the things that Aaron said. And when you start really mentally connecting things together, these people, in specific, Nick, had to be under the influence of some sort at a lot of points and be interacting with his kids, whether that be driving them somewhere, whether that be, just interacting with them, talking with them and everything else. He's fucking out of his mind. He had to have been. Kayla probably was. April probably was. And you know what? He said, and I was something that I was very skeptical of, but I will give Aaron this. He's been very consistent on this, with whether it's a really good ingrained story in his mind or whether it's the truth. He said that he only did coke like 4 times maximum. 3 to 4 times is what he claims a lot. And then he did additional drugs like Molly, say like a half dozen times. So like less than a dozen times was he high on any given drug. Now he said he would drink, but he would not do drugs nearly as often as these other people. Like I said, he is consistent on that. I did go through and I did prove it. That's why I kept, when we go back to my playlist here, and that's why this is here actually. I remember how I said eventually I would get to why this video is in here, why I'm not watching it. Well, this video is in here to corroborate what was said in this stream is true in a lot of parts. So I just wanted to kind of let that be known. But other than that, there's really not a whole lot that happens here with this stream. So